Thanks very much for that, Dano. It was wonderful to hear. It was also wonderful to hear you on that side of the microphone rather than the other end of the sound desk for the first time. Also, a big hello to Mr. and Mrs. Hamer in Melbourne. I know you'll be watching on proudly of your son delivering his first pastoral prayer stream for the Bairnsdale Baptist Church. It's that time of the service where I get to tell a story. Now, most of you would know that I love hearing stories and I love telling stories. I love telling stories so much that I often tell them over and over again. And my poor old wife Steph has to embarrassingly hear me tell the same story over and over again. So if you have heard me tell a story more than once, just tell me straight away and save Steph the embarrassment. However, this is not one of those times. This time, it's a brand new story, and we have COVID-19 to thank for that. The reason we can thank COVID-19 for that is because we have to stream our services at the minute. And part of streaming is recording live off-site, and I get to use some props. They're not any old props though, they are my dogs. I'll introduce you to them. Alright, the black dog on the right, that's Ruger. Now he's the old boss dog. The one in the middle that's walking around, that's Rigby. He's the up and comer. And the one panting with his tongue out, that's Marlin. Let me tell you a little bit more about him closer up. First there's Ruger, the old boss dog. Here, Ruger. Sit down. Sit. Now Ruger, I've had it for about 10 years, and when we're living in town is when I first got him. I've always loved Kelpies and wanted a Kelpie. Every night when I was working, I would come home and take him for a walk across the road to the park. We'd spend about 15 minutes together. Obviously early days would teach him to sit, to stay, to come back to me. He would chase some balls. He would even do a few different tricks. Some you might know now. Let's see. Here we go. Sit. Here. Shake. Oh, good dog. All right. Bang. All right. They're my two tricks. Here we go. Here. Here. And then pretty soon after that, we started getting a couple of sheep in our backyard. We had 2 acres. And we'd teach him to round them up. He would go away, he would come by, he would speak. He wouldn't jump up on their backs, but we had those sheep trained pretty well. Well, the dog trained, but also the sheep. Ruger. Over time, he got to know my voice well. He knew what I wanted from him. He knew what I expected from him. And his confidence grew in the sheep yard. Then we finally got the farm with Grandpa, and he was invaluable. He would help muster the livestock. He could actually catch a sheep out in the paddock. It was fly struck, and he was really good. The problem is he started slowing down. Ruger. He's quite old now, and he struggles for most jobs. So we had to upgrade, and so we invested in another dog. In you. Get in the ute. Get in the ute. Sit. Rigby. Sit. Now Rigby's a new dog. He's only fairly young still, but he's coming on really well. The same thing happened. I got him about 2 years ago, or 18 months ago. I spent time with him every day, teaching him to sit, to stay. For a while he didn't show any interest in sheep, and then he really did. He really did take an interest in the sheep. And he's actually outdoing Ruger now. He's faster, he listens well, he's full of confidence in the yards, and he'll do anything I say. Rigby knows my voice really well. We work at the Bairnsdale sale yards together, and there's multiple dogs there and multiple livestock agents yelling different commands. And Rigby will always be hearing my voice through all the noise and confusion. He's now an A+ working dog. In you. Marlin. Sit. Now we have Marlin. Now Marlin is a good pet. It's also code for he's a rubbish working dog. There are a couple of reasons why poor old Marlin is not very good in the as a sheepdog. And partly it's just because he's dumb. The second part is my fault. Now when we got him, it was around the same time as Harrison was born, and also we moved out to our new place. Now our new place had a dog cage already there, and I decided it would be a good idea to put Ruger and Marlin in the same cage together. Now they stayed in there and I thought they'd keep each other company. On those cold nights they could cuddle up together and it'd all be good. The problem is, all the time they spent in that cage, poor old Marlin started thinking Ruger was the boss, he was the master. When we go out to do some sheep work, Marlin would only ever have one eye on me and one eye on Ruger. He was often confused about who to listen to, who to take cues from, who he was trying to please. Marlin lacks a lot of confidence in the sheep yards because he often doesn't know what to do, and unfortunately for him, he's often getting in the wrong spots, and I've stopped taking him as much anymore. We are lucky though that Harrison and Amelia and Thomas love him. That's why he's still with us, isn't it, Marlin? Yeah. Right, get to you. Recently I've been thinking a lot about how people have been acting and reacting in the current situation that the world's facing. And one night, after about an hour and a half of research, I started to get quite anxious about the current situation myself. I started to worry for my at-risk friends and family members. I started to show great concern over people that have lost jobs, that are close to me, lost an income stream and weren't really sure what the future held for them. Now this is a bit unusual for me because I'm not a very anxious person, and Steph would even argue that I'm too far the other way and don't show much concern about lots of things, but I started to feel it, and it got me thinking, how are some of my other friends and people I know, or just other people, feeling in the current situation? And then I realised something. And what I realised was, who are we listening to? Are we spending hours on Facebook or other social media sites reading people's personal opinions and getting whipped up to a hysteria like a lot of people are on there? Or are we tuning into mainstream sensationalist media and getting worried about the facts and figures that they're drawing out? Or are we just forming our opinions from the next door neighbour? We need to be informed about what's happening with our current situation, and we need to know accurate facts. But are we actually spending time hearing what God has to say to us about the situation? Are we reading the Bible and meditating on what we've just read? Are we talking to God and waiting for his response quietly? Can we hear God's voice through all the confusion, all the angst, and all the things that are going on? Just like Marlin gets confused because he's got one eye on Ruger and the other eye on me. Or are we more like Rigby, whose full attention is on the one person, the master, which is me in this situation? Rigby knows who his master's voice is, and he follows confidently. John 10, 1-6 says this: "Very truly I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. One who enters by the gate is a shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice." Rightio, now we've got a little demonstration about how focused Rigby actually is on one person's voice. Now we've got a few distractions here. We've got Tom, and what are you going to say, Tom?
Rigby, I am going to the farm.
That was Rigby, do you want to come to the farm? He's sitting on the motorbike which goes to the farm, and he loves the motorbike and the farm. We have
Rigby, do you Gonna come do some wicked things with me. Wahahahaha.
That's Steph pretending to be a devil. I don't know if she's too distracting for Rigby, but we'll see.
Rigby, do you want to come play some ball with me?
Yeah, chase the tennis balls. And the most alluring distraction is...
Rigby, do you want to have some dog food?
Let's have a look in there. Some dog food biscuits. Alright, let's see. These guys are going to try and distract him. I'm going to call him. Go, guys. Here, Rigby. Rigby here. Sit. Good dog.